What are you doing out here this late, huh?
Officer, please, I just did go home from work.
You live around here? Show me some ID, right now.
I beg, make you no shout. My ID in my pocket here.
Keep your hands where I can see them. Don't move!
Kwame tightened his jacket against the chill as he walked down 5th and Broad, a quiet corner of New York most people avoided after 10 p.m. He had just closed from his second job at a small African restaurant where he washed dishes and helped clean up before the next morning's rush. The city had never been kind, but it had been fair. Until lately. Lately, Kwame had felt something heavy in the air. The glances, the whispers, the way people clutched their bags a little tighter when he passed. Before we get started, where are you tuning in from? Drop your country or state in the comments. And hey, if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, now's the time, because what's about to happen next will leave you speechless, and you won't want to miss stories like this. He brushed those thoughts aside, humming softly to himself, Aseda Nkanyami, a familiar Ghanaian hymn that kept him calm. He had left his mother in Accra 2 years ago with the promise of building a life here. The promise had been harder to keep than he ever imagined. As he walked, he noticed the faint hum of street lamps buzzing overhead, their yellow glow barely cutting through the mist. The air smelled of rain and engine oil. He adjusted his backpack strap, the weight of it pressing into his shoulder. Inside were only his work clothes, a Bible, and a small pack of kenke and pepper his boss had given him for dinner. At that same moment, across town, Officer Daniel's cruiser rolled slowly down the side street. The hum of the police radio crackled inside the car, dispatch voices blending with the rhythmic clicking of the windshield wipers. Daniels was in his mid-40s, heavy-set, his jaw sharp and unshaven. He had worked the night shift for years, and lately, he had grown bitter. His wife had left, his daughter barely spoke to him, and the city he once swore to protect felt foreign, like something he didn't understand anymore. He muttered under his breath, "City's gone soft, no respect left." He didn't know exactly what he was looking for that night, maybe trouble, maybe control. The city had a way of making him feel small, and stopping someone, anyone, gave him a temporary sense of power. The Bodycam on his chest blinked faintly, a red light in the dark, quietly recording. He turned the corner and saw a lone figure walking up ahead, a young man, dark-skinned, wearing a hoodie and carrying a backpack. The shape of him was ordinary, yet something in Daniel's mind whispered danger, bias, fear, habit. It was always the same script, and he followed it without thinking. Kwame's phone buzzed in his pocket. A text from his mother in Ghana flashed across the cracked screen. "My son, may God protect you this night. Remember who you are." He smiled faintly. "Amen, Ma," he whispered. A car engine slowed behind him. The sound cut through the air like a blade. He turned, seeing the glint of red and blue lights bouncing off the wet road. A police cruiser. Kwame's pulse quickened. Not again, he thought. Last time it had been a misunderstanding. They said he fit the description. But this time, he had done nothing wrong. He had his ID, his work permit, even his employee tag still around his neck. The car pulled up beside him, the window rolling slowly. "Hey, you there." Kwame froze. The voice was deep, sharp, and commanding. He turned slightly, trying to appear calm. "Yes, officer." Daniel stepped out of the car, boots splashing in a shallow puddle. The red and blue lights painted his face in alternating shades of anger and suspicion. "Where you headed?" Kwame adjusted his backpack. "Just going home, sir. From work." The cop's hand hovered near his holster, more instinct than reason. "This your neighborhood?" Kwame nodded. "Yes, officer. I live just down that street." Daniel's eyes narrowed. Got ID? Yes, I have, Kwame replied, his accent clear and gentle. I go show you. He reached slowly into his pocket, but the officer's voice rose sharply. Don't move! Kwame froze mid-motion, both hands half in the air. His heart thundered. But officer, you say make I show idea. Daniel's eyes flicked to the camera light on his chest, still blinking, still recording. He swallowed, jaw tightening. For a brief second, even he seemed unsure of himself, but then something hardened again in his gaze. The silence between them stretched, the night air thick with tension. Across the street, a store clerk peeked out through the window blinds, phone in hand. Somewhere, a dog barked. Somewhere else, the hum of the city kept going, indifferent.
Daniels took one step closer. Kwame's eyes darted to the glowing red light on the body cam. He didn't know why, but it gave him hope that someone, somewhere, might see what was about to happen. He swallowed hard and whispered a prayer under his breath. "O Lord, if you dey here, may them see truth." That night would change everything. The next 15 seconds, captured through that body cam lens, would ripple far beyond that empty street, through neighborhoods, newsrooms, and hearts around the world. But for now, in that stillness before the storm, time seemed to hold its breath. Daniel's hand shifted slightly. Kwame's chest rose and fell. Rain began to fall, slow, deliberate drops, as though heaven itself watched in sorrow. The red and blue lights pulsed violently against the walls, painting the street in chaos. The hum of the cruiser's engine filled the air like a heartbeat that refused to slow down. Rain fell harder now, tiny silver spears hitting the ground, echoing through the empty street like static. From the chest of Officer Daniels, the body cam blinked, 00001.02, recording active. Daniel's boots squelched as he took another heavy step forward. The camera shook slightly with each movement, catching glimpses of Kwame's nervous eyes, his hands trembling just beneath the flickering streetlight. "Hands where I can see 'em," Daniels barked, his voice cracked through the rain. Kwame's breath came fast, his palms rose slowly, fingers shaking. "Officer, I no do anything wrong, I beg. I did go house." "Keep your voice down," Daniels snapped. "You fit some description. You carrying anything?" Kwame blinked, confused. "Description? No, sir. I just closed from work. I get my ID. Don't reach for it." The officer's voice roared through the night, raw and commanding. Kwame froze again, his chest heaving. Okay, my hands dey up." The camera zoomed slightly as Daniel stepped closer. The reflection of the flashing lights glimmered in the puddles, bending and twisting, as if the whole world was trembling along with them. "Where you from?" Daniels growled, circling him slightly. Kwame swallowed. "Ghana, sir, but I live here. I get my papers. Everything legal." Daniel's expression hardened. "Ghana, huh? You here visiting or you one of those staying too long?" Kwame blinked rapidly, the words cutting deeper than intended. "Sir, I de live here. I work for Mama K's kitchen. You fit check 'em." The cop tilted his head, one hand still hovering close to his holster. "Why you walking this area so late then?" "I de come from work, sir. It no get bus this time. I just de walk go my place." Daniels looked around the street. Empty, silent, shadows stretching long. The only sound was the dripping rain and the soft hum of police radio chatter inside the cruiser. "Turn around." He hesitated. "Sir, why? You want search me?" turn. The tone made his knees weak. He turned slowly, keeping his hands above his head. The camera caught every second, raindrops blurring the lens slightly, adding a haunting shimmer to the view. Daniels moved closer, his gloved hand patting down Kwame's pockets roughly. "What's this?" "My ID, sir." "Why didn't you give it when I asked?" Kwame turned his head slightly, desperate to explain. "Because you shout say make I no move, officer. I de fear." The moment hung there, thick and suffocating. For a heartbeat, it was only their breathing, one shallow, one heavy. Then, "Don't turn your head," Daniels barked. "Keep looking forward." Kwame froze again. "Yes, sir." Daniels reached into the pocket and pulled out the ID. He shone his flashlight on it, the name Kwame Botang glinting faintly in the beam. "You got any record, Kwame?" "No, sir." "You sure?" "Yes, sir. I never enter police wahala before." Daniel's eyes scanned the card. Everything was clean. Still, something in him didn't want to let go. It wasn't about proof anymore, it was about power. He shoved the ID into his pocket and stepped back. "You don't look like you belong around here." Kwame turned slightly, startled. "Sir, I no understand. I pay rent. I live here. Within I do wrong." Daniel's voice rose again. "Don't talk back to me." His hand pressed slightly against his holster, not pulling yet, but threatening. The camera caught a close-up of Kwame's face, his lips trembling, eyes glistening with both fear and disbelief. "I just won't go home. Please, officer, I no get strength for this matter." "Step back!" Kwame flinched. "Okay, sir. I de step back, say." The camera jostled violently as Daniels moved forward again. "Don't you move unless I tell you to." Kwame stopped mid-step, shaking his head slowly. "Sir, you say make I step back, now you say make I no move. I beg, make you tell me whiting you want make I do." The words hit the officer, not in defiance, but in despair. Yet Daniel's pride would not allow him to soften. "You think this is a joke?" "No, sir. I swear to God, I no do anything wrong." "Don't swear to God in front of me," he hissed, voice shaking with rage and something else. Fear. Fear of losing control. The rain fell harder now. The lens caught every drop splattering across the frame like teardrops from heaven. Then from across the street, a door creaked open. A woman's voice shouted faintly, "Hey, what's going on out there?" Daniel snapped his head toward the sound. "Stay inside, ma'am. Police matter." Kwame turned his eyes toward her, desperate. "Please, tell him I no thief. I no do anything." Daniels grabbed his shoulder, spinning him around. "Face me!" The camera swung violently, the frame spinning as the two faced off, light flickering across their faces, breaths fogging in the cold air. "Hands behind your back," Daniels barked. "Sir, why you dare arrest me? I beg, I no resist." "Do it." Kwame obeyed, slowly placing his hands behind him. The sound of metal cuffs clicking echoed like gunfire in the quiet night. The camera captured Kwame's face again as Daniels forced his arms downward. Rain streaked down his cheeks, mixing with tears he didn't want to admit were falling. "Sir, I no go forget this day. God go see me clean." Daniels said nothing, only tightening the cuffs slightly. "You can explain that downtown." "But for what?" "For walking suspiciously." Kwame stared at him, disbelief spreading through every muscle in his face. "For walking?" "Yeah," he growled, leaning in. "You people think you can just roam anywhere you want?"
For a moment, both men froze, the cop's anger clashing against the immigrant's confusion and pain. The lens zoomed slightly, the timestamp blinking at the corner. 000
0014.87, subject restrained. Then, in the distant background, the faint cry of sirens approached. Backup, maybe, or fate itself answering the scene. The tension didn't ease. The silence was heavier than shouting could ever be. Kwame lowered his head, whispering under his breath, "O Lord, make them see the truth for this camera." Daniels stared down at him, jaw clenching, the first flicker of doubt crossing his face. The Bodycam blinked red, still recording every second, every word, every heartbeat. The rain didn't stop until morning. When it did, the city woke to headlines instead of sunlight. Bodycam footage sparked outrage. Immigrant worker detained without cause. NYPD investigates Officer Daniels following viral video. The 15-second clip had spread like wildfire. It had been uploaded first by a woman across the street, the same one who had shouted from her doorway that night. She'd posted it with the caption, "He said he was just walking home." Within hours, millions had seen it. Some paused in disbelief, some shouted in anger, some simply wept. Kwame watched it too, not from his phone, but from a small television in his apartment later that day. His wrists still bore faint marks where the cuffs had been. He sat at the edge of his bed, eyes fixed on the screen. He could hear himself in the video, his voice trembling, his accent laid bare before the world. "Officer, please, I just dey go home from work." Each time those words replayed, he felt a mix of shame and relief. Shame for being seen so vulnerable, relief that the truth was out. His roommate, Kofi, leaned against the wall, shaking his head. "Chale, the whole America they talk about you now." Kwame sighed. "I no want be famous for this matter. I just want peace." Kofi crossed his arms. "Peace no day easy come, but maybe God they use you show something." Across town, Officer Daniels sat alone in his apartment. His badge lay on the table beside him, next to a folded suspension letter. The blinds were shut, but even through them, he could feel the weight of the world pressing against his small living room. The video had been replayed on every network. Each analysis, each commentator turned him into a symbol, not just a man. He'd spent most of the night watching it, rewinding again and again, hearing his own voice bark commands he barely remembered saying. He saw the fear in Kwame's eyes, something he had missed in the moment. And for the first time in years, Daniels felt something different. Shame. His phone buzzed. It was a message from his daughter. "Dad, I saw the video. I think you need help." He didn't reply. He couldn't. Days passed. Protests began. Small at first, then growing. People gathered in front of the precinct holding signs that read, "Justice for Kwame," and racial profiling. Journalists asked questions. Politicians made statements. Kwame had never stood before a camera willingly, but now he found himself facing a row of microphones. He wore a simple shirt, the same work jacket he had that night. His lawyer stood beside him. He cleared his throat, the accent still thick but steady. "Me, I no hate police. I respect them. But that night I fear for my life. I thank God say camera day, because it show truth. I just want people know say we all be human." The crowd murmured, some clapping softly, others holding back tears. Behind the flashes and questions, Kwame spotted something. Officer Daniels standing quietly at the edge of the crowd. No uniform now, just a man in a gray coat.
Their eyes met for the first time since that night. The world fell silent around them. Kwame's lawyer whispered, "That's him." Kwame nodded slowly. "I see him." For a long moment, neither moved. Then Daniels gave a small nod, not of defense, but of apology. It wasn't enough, but it was something. Weeks later, an internal affairs hearing filled the department's narrow conference room. The footage played again, each pause, each frame, each second analyzed. Daniels listened to the questions, his answers short, voice hollow. When asked if he regretted his actions, he hesitated before saying, "I regret losing sight of the person in front of me." He wasn't excused for his behavior, but he was finally accountable. The department issued its decision: suspension without pay, pending review, and mandatory retraining. When reporters asked Kwame for comment, he simply said, "Forgiveness no mean forget, but maybe it fit start healing." Months later, winter melted into early spring. Kwame returned to his routine: work, church, evening walks. The same street where it had happened no longer frightened him. The streetlight had been fixed. It glowed steadily now, a quiet symbol of something restored. He sometimes caught strangers looking at him with recognition. Some smiled, some thanked him, some just nodded. But every time he passed that corner, he whispered under his breath, "God, thank you, say you show the truth." The Bodycam footage that once brought him pain had become a tool of change. Community meetings started new conversations about policing and trust. Young officers began to train with instructors who used the footage as a lesson, not a weapon. Even Daniels, attending those same sessions, would occasionally lift his head when Kwame's name was mentioned, not out of guilt anymore, but gratitude for the chance to learn what he'd ignored. Late one evening, months after everything, Kwame stopped at a small park near the river. The city lights shimmered on the water. He sat on a bench, holding his mother's latest message on his phone. "My son, I see what God has done through your pain. Be strong." He smiled faintly. "I dey try, Ma. I dey try." The wind shifted, carrying the sounds of the city. Laughter, cars, a siren somewhere far away. But this time, it didn't sound threatening. It sounded alive. He looked up, whispered to himself, "The camera show the truth, but God show the heart." And in that quiet moment, the night no longer felt heavy. It felt human.
The next morning, the sun rose quietly over West Elm. The rain had washed away the blood, the fear, the shouting, but not the echoes. The yellow tape still fluttered across the cracked sidewalk, whispering in the morning wind. A small crowd gathered at the corner, cell phones raised, eyes swollen from a sleepless night. Some murmured prayers, others demanded answers. Someone had printed a photo of Kwame, bright smile, white shirt, and taped it to a lamppost with the words, "Justice for Kwame." The Bodycam footage had already leaked online. By dawn, it was everywhere, on TikTok, Twitter, and news feeds across the country. Millions watched the 10 seconds when everything went wrong. Kwame's voice echoed through every replay. "Boss, I'm not resisting. I beg. I live here." Daniel's voice followed, raw with tension. "Keep your hands where I can see them." Freeze frame. Silence. The gunshot. Then the world screamed. Officer Daniels sat alone in the precinct locker room, his head bowed, his badge lying on the bench beside him. The light above flickered, humming like a broken memory. His hands trembled as he stared at the Bodycam footage looping on the small tablet screen. He pressed pause at the moment right before the shot. Kwame's eyes wide, glistening, unarmed. Daniel's throat tightened. He remembered the flash of fear, the rush of adrenaline, the split-second decision that had rewritten both their lives. Why did it feel like danger when it was just him? He didn't expect an answer, but guilt sat across from him like a silent companion. Sergeant Miller walked in quietly. Internal Affairs wants your full report by noon. They'll review the footage frame by frame. Daniels nodded weakly. Yeah, frame by frame, like they'll find the frame where I stopped being human. Sergeant Miller sighed. Daniels, you did what you were trained to do. Daniels's eyes flashed. Trained to fear him? He raised a wallet, not a weapon. The sergeant had no reply. The silence grew heavy. Daniels leaned back, staring at the locker ceiling. You know what's crazy? I looked at his ID after they took him in. He lives 2 blocks from my mother. His voice cracked. 2 blocks. In a small apartment on the east side, Kwame's mother sat motionless on the couch. Her hands clutched her son's hoodie, the same gray one from the video, still stained with dried blood. Her daughter, Amma, sat beside her, scrolling through endless messages of support, outrage, and disbelief. Mom, they're organizing a march. People from church, from school, even the mayor said. Her mother's voice broke through, quiet but firm. I don't want a march. I want my son. Amma held her, and the two wept quietly. On the TV, a reporter spoke over slow-motion footage of the Bodycam video. The officer claims the suspect reached into his pocket after repeated warnings. However, witnesses say Kwame Mensah was complying peacefully. Mrs. Mensah turned off the television. They call him a suspect, but he was just walking home. By nightfall, candles lined the street where Kwame had fallen. People came from all over, students, pastors, neighbors, even officers in plain clothes. They stood shoulder to shoulder under the flickering streetlight. Someone played a recording of Kwame's voice from his phone, a short clip he'd sent to his mother weeks before. Mom, don't worry, I'll make you proud one day. The crowd went silent. Then a chant began softly, building with every heartbeat. Say his name. Kwame Mensah.
Say his name. Kwame Mensah. Even Officer Daniels watched from his car a block away, unseen, engine off. He couldn't bring himself to get out. He just listened. The chants, the prayers, the wailing. He whispered, I see you now, Kwame. I really do. Weeks passed. The investigation took over every headline. Activists called it racial bias. The police union called it a tragedy. The mayor called it a moment of reckoning. Daniel sat through hours of hearings, watching lawyers replay his every move, frame by frame. They asked about his perception of threat, his tone, his distance. At one point, a young prosecutor asked, Officer Daniels, what did you see when you looked at Mr. Mensah that night? He hesitated. A man walking in the dark. Was he dangerous? Daniel's voice cracked. No, but I thought he was. And that's the problem, isn't it? Months later, the city unveiled a memorial mural on West Elm. It showed Kwame smiling, holding a loaf of bread, a symbol from his church's charity work, with the words, See with heart, not with suspicion. Officer Daniels was there, in plain clothes, standing at the edge of the crowd. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. Amma noticed him from across the street. Their eyes met for a brief, aching moment. Two worlds that never should have collided, now bound forever by one night. She walked up slowly. For a second, he thought she might shout, might strike him. Instead, she said softly, "You can't undo it, but you can help others see." He nodded, eyes wet. "I will." A year later, Daniels left the force. He joined a community outreach program, teaching new recruits about empathy, cultural awareness, and implicit bias. He started every session with the same footage, his own body cam. He played the encounter until the moment before the gunshot, then paused it. Right there. That's the moment that defines everything, the space between fear and understanding. He never pressed play after that. He wanted them to feel the weight of the silence. Kwame's story became more than tragedy. It became testimony, a mirror held up to a nation still struggling to see clearly. In a small community center, his mother ran a youth program in his name, the Kwame Mensah Foundation for Peace and Progress. The motto, painted above the door, read, "See with heart, not with suspicion." One evening, Officer Daniels visited the center quietly. He watched the children laugh, play, and learn, the life that should have been. He left a donation envelope at the door with a note inside. "For Kwame, the man who taught me to see." As he walked away, the city lights shimmered in the rain, just like that night. But this time, there was no fear, only the faint sound of children's laughter echoing through the streets. And somewhere in that sacred silence between sorrow and redemption, peace finally spoke.